In a time where we're ripe with plenty of global events going on, one of the top ones now, obviously everyone's talking about, is going to be the coronavirus. This viral outbreak of a pretty vicious disease. 3,000 people so far have contracted it. That number's climbing pretty rapidly, and the death toll of 80 also is climbing pretty rapidly as well. There's a lot of concern here. The market seems to be selling off a little bit because of the results of it. There's been a couple cases, 4 cases now in the United States as well. But obviously this could be a big global issue. Just if you think about travel, if you think about whatever it might be, there's a lot of concern here for a virus that's actually relatively deadly. If you're considering 80 out of 3,000, that's for disease standards, that's a pretty high mortality rate, all things considered. And it's something we don't necessarily entirely understand right now, how to properly handle it. That's where the concern really comes in. But obviously, as you see as a result here, let's go ahead and look at just the S&P over the 5-day. Obviously, this thing's been hit kind of hard here just as it spread to the U.S. I mean, really, by kind of hard, only down 2%. All things considered, if you look at the month out, this thing's, we're still up. So there's nothing major going on right now, but there's definitely a little bit of a sell-off, and there's no denying it, and you can see it in the chart. As investors are kind of scared of what this might mean for us. And I just wanted to give you my opinion on it, what I think's going to happen. Well, obviously, it's a horrible, horrible thing. Anyone losing their lives is horrible, especially some sort of disease outbreak. I understand it happens, and there's reasons for it. But in my opinion, I think this is just with modern Western medicine. I think investors are slightly overreacting. I do think it'll hit the Chinese economy pretty drastically. I do think a already weak Chinese economy is probably going to be hurt a little bit more from it. Now the thing is, U.S. economy-wise, I don't necessarily see this being that big of a threat to us. Just with modern Western medicine, I just frankly don't see this being that big of a dilemma for us. I know a lot of people are concerned, investors are concerned, that's why people are selling out. I think overall, this is going to lead to still gains. I mean, we're still going to have a positive year in 2020 in the market. I don't doubt that at all. I don't think this is going to be enough to slow down a market on this big of a bull run right now. I mean, you're talking over 5 years, up 60%. That is what we're talking about. It's a pretty well, just significant, very significant bull run. And something is, I don't want to say minor, but it's relatively minor in the grand scheme if you consider it. I mean, 3,000 people infected. Obviously, that number is going to keep growing, unfortunately. But as far as what it'll affect in terms of the U.S. economy, it really isn't going to hurt us that horribly. Obviously, we're finally getting on the right terms with China in terms of trade. And if their economy is weakened just a little bit, it could impact us a little bit. But we're just going to talk about some realistic cases here. So it makes me think, obviously, as investors are freaking out about this, how historically have different sort of viral outbreaks really affected the market? And actually, there's a fantastic article I just read on Market Watch regarding this. So here's this chart in the middle of your screen here, which I think really shows exactly what we're looking at. And it goes through everything by date. So let's just look at it. HIV and AIDS, when it was huge in the 80s, a lot of people having some unprotected no-nos, if you know what I'm saying. It hurt the market quite a bit. You see a 6-month change, really flat, but overall, over the year, down 10%, right? Okay, that makes sense. There's a downswing in the market. And this is going to be off change of the S&P 500, by the way. So then we had the pneumonic plague in the 90s. Overall, you see here, this is a pretty big deal. Over the 6 months, though, the S&P 500 was up 8.22. Over the whole year, it was up 26.31. So no effect going on there. We had SARS, in the early 2000s, up 14.5 in 6 months and up 20% for the year. Yikers. I mean, let's just be honest, very little effect. The avian flu, another big concern for a little while, but 6-month change here, 11.5 up, and full year, 18.5 up almost. That was in the mid-2000s. Then we had the dengue fever. Again, 6 months up 6, 12 months up 14.29. I mean, if you're looking here, there's pretty well a trend, and it's that I don't really know if there's going to be that big of a dilemma because of this. So next is going to be the swine flu, which, thank you guys, I appreciate the support. I am a survivor of the swine flu. I, in fact, did not go to the doctor for 5 days. I survived the swine flu, and it's made me a better person today. I don't want to get emotional here, but I did survive the swine flu, and I definitely would have if I was in the market, because the thing was up 18% in 6 months and up 36% for the full year. I would have been happy to have that. Oh my gosh, thank you, swine flu. The market was loving it. Obviously, this is recovering from recession, so it's kind of tough to say that, because, again, if this would have happened in 2008, it would have been an absolute nightmare, and the market would have been a poop fest. But then we have cholera in 2010. Market was, again, S&P 500 up 14%, but on a 12-month basis up only 5.6, which is not absurd, because if you think about annualized over a year period, typically the market goes up somewhere from 7 to 10%. So that's just a normal fluctuation. I don't see anything negative regarding that. MERS down again in 2013. 6-month change of the S&P 500, 10.74, 18% up for the whole year. Ebola in 2014, which again was mostly entirely in the African economy, so it doesn't necessarily impact us that much. 5.34% 6-month change and a 10.44. 2014 is kind of a tough one to judge because it was just a down year in the market in general. I don't know if I can blame measles for it, but pretty well flat on the 6-month and down 0.73 12-month. Then we had Zika virus in 2016, which the market rocked it, 12% up for 6 months and 17.5% for 12. And finally, this most recent one, besides obviously what we're facing right now, the corona, would be another measles outbreak because the anti-vaccine people, I don't want to get into it, but people aren't vaccinating their children. Measles is spreading. But still one of the biggest bull periods in the market. Just from June to now, June of last year, one of the biggest bull periods in the market. So, to be fair, if we're talking about how this is going to affect us, really not that much. I just got to be honest with you. Not that much. I think we're going to be perfectly fine overall. People are going to freak out about it for a little bit. But you know what? I'm thinking overall we're going to make it through this. It might be a rough couple weeks potentially just as people sell, but overall we're going to make that money back. And it's kind of been something I've been waiting for, is a little bit of a sell-off, because I've had so much money sitting on the sidelines I want to put in. I am obviously saving up for a house, but overall I still have money, extra money that I can be putting into the market that I don't want to yet because I don't know if there's as many good deals that I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and wait and hopefully get some more deals. I put in more today than I did usually just because in pre-market I was down some wild. The market was down 1.5% or something, which it's steadied out now, but just some crazy stuff. So just stay consistent. Don't worry too much about how this is going to affect the market. Just hope that everyone, obviously, that contracts this will be all right in the end. That's my hope. But overall, I think the market will be fine.